Fantasy football, you have to ask one question. Don't you deserve a fighting chance? And now, welcome to Fighting Chance Live with your hosts, Kevin Tompkins and Scott Fishbowl 9 winner, Gary Haddow.
Welcome into Fighting Chance Live, everybody. My name is Kevin Tompkins. I am from FightingChanceFantasy.com. And as always, draft day Gary Haddow to my right. How you doing, Gary?
Woo-hoo! I'm very excited, trying to not wake up my son right now. Oh, man. For anyone
and he just did, probably.
Yeah. For anyone just joining us, as that's everybody, I actually have a rookie draft going on at August 19th. I got a dynasty league. They like to wait, and so we're doing the rookie draft, and I'm in the thick of it right now. So let's take it away, Kevin.
I do what I can, but we'll keep coming to that as we progress through here. But we've got a great guest. We've got Dominate himself, Nate Hamilton. Nate, how you doing, my friend?
What's going on, guys? I'm super happy to finally be part of this, by the way, because I just did my live stream, and now here I am live with you guys. I can't get enough live, apparently. So thanks for having me. Yeah,
absolutely. The internet cannot get enough of Nate Hamilton, so we're bringing you another hour plus of more Nate Hamilton. So what's
lucky
better than
you?
Lucky everybody else, man. So yeah, tell us what you're up to. Tell us what you're working on. As far as I know, you got your one man pod going. Fill everybody in for those of you who are living under a rock.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm pretty much freelancing this year. So my intention was to not write any articles, but I'm getting the itch because writing is just a passion of mine. So I'm looking to put that on various platforms this season. But right now, you can find me on Twitter at DominateFF. I'm on there every day, every second of the day. It's where I live. But I'm also doing a weekly Dominate at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. I'm doing a live stream on Twitter and Periscope. That's been going pretty well. So I'm enjoying that. And as soon as the season kicks in, I'll be starting up again my solo podcast, the Dominate Fantasy Football Show, which you can find anywhere. And, go out, get the Fantasy Football Black Book, and I got my Dominate rankings. I'm everywhere, man. I'm doing everything.
Got mine right here.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
Evan sent me one for my birthday, actually.
There you go. Yeah. Sweet. Awesome.
By the way, your man cave is killer.
Thank you.
Your wall is awesome.
It's cursed as well. So I've got DeAndre Hopkins. I've got Todd Gurley. I've got Corey Davis. The only two that are safe right now are Mike Evans, and you can't really see him, but Keenan Allen over there.
He's on his way to being cursed.
Yeah. So it's vintage. They're vintage pieces now.
Yeah.
That's
Corey
awesome.
Davis one cracks me up. The ultimate truther.
That's right.
That's what I need, because I'm actually building up my office right now. She let me have one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So right now we got to paint in here a little bit, but I'm gonna hang some stuff up because I've got a lot of vintage stuff. I want to put up, like, I've got a Deion Sanders, like a Falcons jersey. I've got like Jordy Nelson. I'm a Packer fan, obviously, if you couldn't tell behind me, but Jordy Nelson, Charles Woodson, stuff like that. I want to put them up. So eventually, when we're done painting, I want to put all that stuff up. And yeah, I've got a lot of cursed jerseys. I got my Clinton Dix one that probably won't see the light of day, but yeah. So I can't.
Davante Adams, we heard today, but he's apparently thank God.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a scare today. I guess it was before he even was on the before he returns to the practice field. Yeah, I'm taking a look right now. He was on his back for a moment. He was as Amos, I think he had an interception in camp, and yeah, but he got off the field and everything looks good for now. But there was a definite hush over Packers Twitter today, certainly.
Yeah, man, that's intense. Glad that he's okay though. That would be terrible.
Yeah, Davante Adams, he's one of my favorite wide receivers. So
absolutely. Yeah, so yeah. So today we're gonna go through some ADP here, some player v player guys that are going at very similar ADP So let's just jump right into it. Why not? So the first one, I'll put her up on the screen here. We're going to go with quarterbacks, Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray at their ADP. Looks like Wilson. This is all the expert consensus rankings from Fantasy Pros, by the way. So that's what the QB4, QB5 is. So let's go to Nate first off. When you're in drafts, and I'm not sure as far as, if you're taking a quarterback in that range, who do you like out of Wilson and Murray there? Who are you going to try to navigate towards?
So I'm not taking a quarterback at this range anyway. I'm definitely late round QB guy. They're just too much value at the end of drafts. But if I'm going to pick between these two, for me, it's Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson's one of those guys that I, for some reason, just don't like. Like, I don't like Russell Wilson. And, I just think that every year he's going to not perform. And he keeps proving me wrong. So this is the year I'm giving up on hating on him. And, he's proven himself. He's a seasoned vet now. He's still young, but he's a seasoned vet. And for me, he just continues to perform and be a top elite option. For me, Kyler Murray, still a young guy figuring out the NFL. Yes, he's got one of the best wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins. Where is it? Right there. DeAndre Hopkins on his team. However, for me, they're going to need some time to gel. And yeah, he's going to get peppered with targets. But again, that Arizona offense, I'm slightly fading if you want to compare it to Seattle's offense. So that's why I would go Russell Wilson.
Man, they really do deserve to be back to back. I mean, I've kind of had a rotation of Dak, Russell, and Kyler at 3, 4, and 5, and depending on the day will depend on how I feel about them. And yeah, we're all just kind of waiting for kind of Mr. Unlimited to show up and just be unleashed, and maybe
that's awesome.
Unlimited. For anybody that hasn't seen the video, just Google Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson. Yeah. It'll make sense. But yeah, I want to say it's Russell, and because I even texted Kevin like a week or two ago, I was like, I think I'm putting Russell as my QB3, but I realized I'm banking on something that there's no way to expect it's going to happen. I genuinely believe Russell Wilson is the top 3 quarterback in the NFL, but I don't know for fantasy he's there. His yardage is never going to get there. 4,000 last year, and he just never. That was actually his second most yardage ever, 4,100 yards. Like that's not anything, but 31 touchdowns is great. Whereas Kyler, you get that rushing floor. He did 500 plus yards last year, and then his touchdowns have to go up, right? He only did 20 touchdowns last year. They bring in Hop. They obviously now will have Drake for the whole season. They're going to involve him in the passing game, and just that offense really took time to come on. I don't think that it was anything where. It's a newer system, it's a new coach, it's a new team, it's a new quarterback, kind of all those things together. And I just think that they're the type of team that could just come out the gates just swinging. He's a really good quarterback, right? My positive and negative that comes with the division, like good defenses, good teams, they're going to have to just keep up. I think, it's probably the most competitive division in the NFL. So I don't know. I think when push comes to shove, my break point is in a 4-point passing touchdown. I'm going Kyler, and a 6-point, I'm probably going Russell just to make myself feel more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely fair. And it's funny because I remember you texted me that, and just today, because I'm working on my rankings, going to post them up this weekend. I did move Russell Wilson up to QB3. Now, yeah, I know Gary's happy. We've been banging that drum on the Seattle offense, but
ahead of Dak, huh? Come on.
I've got Dak 4 though. It's apples and oranges at that range,
I know. Honestly. Well, hey, Russell Wilson wears number 3. Dak wears number 4. I get what you're doing. I get that's cool.
It's the OCD in me, but no. As far as Russell Wilson, I think at some point they gotta let him throw a little bit more. He's kind of been confined by his offense a little bit here. So if Chris Carson, if his hip injury, if he doesn't come right out of the gates here, because that running game with now they've got Carlos Hyde in the mix there. there's a good chance if they let Russell Wilson throw, I think they're going to stick with it. So, and like Nate said, Kyler Murray, he's got a bit of an adjustment. Now he's got a number one target there. He's got to figure out how he's going to distribute between all those targets. There might be a little bit of, grace period there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the offensive lines improved a little bit, but, I'd say that could probably benefit Kenny Drake, certainly, because Kyler Murray's going to get out there and run a bit. Both have a rushing floor. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson, at least between those two. But it's between him and Dak and Kyler. It's really apples and oranges. Yeah. It's really who you prefer. It's by the day when you wake up and go, okay, I think, Dak's the guy. Wake up the next day. All right, maybe it's Kyler.
And that might be the theme for this entire show, because, I mean, when you're dealing with people who are going as far from expert consensus, and they're so close to one another, there's a reason for it. I mean, it's, it's hard to argue, but it is splitting hairs at this point. Yeah. Obviously we haven't seen them in 2020 yet, and it's going to be interesting, but right now we just got to give the people what we feel like going into the season, and it might be splitting hairs, but hopefully it helps people decide on, if they're coming up with this decision, who to go with. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if Will Dissly is able to start playing, even in September and for the rest of the season. Let's just say he doesn't get re-injured. And if Greg Olsen can play kind of at least 12 games, man, like with DK and with Lockett, those guys are just going to take so much attention in so many different levels. I actually think Lockett, again, is one of the better receivers in the NFL. So DK looks like he has the chops to start to
I'm a big
become
DK
elite
fan,
very quickly. Yeah.
Love DK.
Dark horse top 10 wide receiver is definitely DK, because he could put up 14 touchdowns and put up like 1,200 yards easily. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, it just comes down to, will they let him do it? It's the same thing we've been saying every year for Russell. One of these years, it's not to say that he's going to be the number one quarterback, because he's done that before. Obviously, we're in a different world now. But one of these years, he's going to have that outlier season where he puts up close to 5,000 and like 40 touchdowns. And we'll be like, this is Russell Wilson. We all knew he was there.
Yep. Yeah, it's just dormant for a little bit because he tends to start slow too. But if he can put it together for the full season, week one's, sky's the limit for him, certainly. Sure. So let's get to another set of quarterbacks. We've seen, we saw a rookie season out of Kyler Murray, and we've seen Russell Wilson do it for years. But we'll go to Matthew Stafford, and a quarterback we haven't seen outside of New England is Tom Brady going to Tampa. So we've got similarly ranked quarterbacks yet again, with Stafford going at the the quarterback one fringe there at QB 12, Tom Brady QB 11. So we'll start with Gary here. We'll just go around the horn here. Stafford and Brady, what you got, brother?
Oh God, I right now I am drafting Brady ahead of Stafford. Let me just say that I've actually grown on taking Brady in a lot of drafts with where he's going. I think that I believe very narrative driven fantasy player, and I think that Brady has a chip on his shoulder. Bruce Arians is the perfect guy to come in and say, hey, let's go do this. Like this amazing receiving core that you have. I think literally the one downside to his fantasy is probably capped at the Bucs defense should be pretty good. And the Lions defense, I don't expect to be good. I don't really care for that team as a whole outside of, their few key pieces on offense. And on the flip side, Stafford, I absolutely love. And I think everyone's been saying it over and over, on pace for 5,038 touchdowns last year. That's insane. So do we get back to that? I don't know. We're having good reports of Marvin Jones coming back strong. We have TJ Hawkinson in a second season who's not having good injury reports, but I think that Brady is the safe play. Stafford is kind of the upside, but he's also pretty safe, I would imagine.
I'm going to agree with that. And I'm glad that you guys actually brought up these two, because I have them both at the 12 and 14th position in my rankings. And right now I have Stafford at 12 and Tom Brady at 14. But after looking at this comparison, I'm thinking about moving Brady up just ahead of Stafford and having Stafford right behind him, just like the consensus rankings, because they should be that close.
Yeah.
Going along with Gary said, if you're looking at weaponry, I mean, Kenny G to me is one of the best weapons in the league right now. And it's scary what he can do with a full season of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford in just 8 games last year, 291 attempts. So, and the 2 quarterbacks that took over for him, I think had 20 fewer combined attempts for the rest of the season. So, and I think he targeted Kenny Golladay 8 times or at least 8 times in 6 of the first 8 games. And Kenny Golladay was only targeted 8 or more times, 3 times for the rest of the season without Matthew Stafford. So to me, that's key to Matthew Stafford holding his current ADP. But we're going to talk Tom Brady for a second. This Tampa Bay offense is just ridiculous. It's just if you want a fantasy team, hey Lauren, what's up? If you want a fantasy, I have Stafford at 12. But he'll probably be 13 and TB will be 12. Anyways, but if you want a fantasy football team, draft all the Tampa Bay players, and there you go. Yeah. There's your fantasy team. It's value everywhere. And I drafted recently, actually, no joke. My first 2 picks were Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So
love it.
I didn't care that I did that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. As the burgeoning zero RB truther that I am, I'm really. Come on, Gary. What?
It's just so weird. Like RB robust, and then all of a sudden, like last week, it was like, you know what? Screw RBs. They're no longer important. I'm just going to do all my drafts with drafting like a first running back in the 8th round or something.
Yeah, but listen, I'll say something about this, and hopefully this defends Kevin a little bit. Is like I'm a 0 wide receiver guy typically, but if I'm drafting at the back end of the first, man, when you're looking at 2 guaranteed wide receiver ones,
but you're going running back in the 3rd.
It's super hard not to go wide receiver start your draft. I mean, it's very hard when you have like the 11th or 12th pick to not do that. But then very quickly, I try to bounce back and get a running back because I do love getting running backs early. But that is the one time. If the first 5 top running backs are off the table, I'll probably start my drafts wide receiver.
Kevin's last 2 drafts, one of them, he took a running back. He texted me. I think that's in the Down Under Bowl. I think it was in the 8th, and he hadn't taken a running back yet. And I think he actually took Cam in the 8th. Right now, we're doing this President's Cup thing, Brits versus Americans. And in that, he is at the 12 spot, and at his first possible running back will be 7-12.
Oh, wow, Kevin!
He goes hard after it.
The latest I think I've taken a running back is round 4. So,
yeah,
it's just honestly, it's because in that after 12 or 13, there's like 3 running backs that I don't mind Gurley. I'll take Connor. I'll take Carson, and that's about it. Because pretty much to me, everything's kind of gross in that range. So give me all those wide receivers. If I have like 2 flexes and I can start 3 wide receivers, I'm going to just go right down the board wide receivers and throw a tight end in there. And then I'll just take all those, Zach Moss's, Phillip Lindsay's, James White's, Tariq Cohen's. I'll take all those guys just because of the bust rates on those RB2s are just absolutely astounding compared to the wide receivers in that range.
I don't know, man. This is for another show.
We're getting a little off topic. So
we'll move on from the Stafford and Brady.
It's all good. Hey guys, we're live. We can do what we want.
We can.
That's the beauty of having a live show.
Well, I was going to tell Kevin he can go take a break because we're about to do running backs, and he obviously doesn't care about them. So
yes, we'll just shut it off right here. No, because as far as Brady and Stafford go, I'll touch on that for a second here. I've actually got Brady as my QB8. That offense I think is just with Godwin being the Larry Fitzgerald of that offense. Now I think he's set up perfectly to have a big season. Now I think maybe last season was his ceiling. I think he can have something closer, close to that season that he had last year. Evans, I think, is just criminally underrated in drafts. I think he has a very wide range of where he's been going. He can slip into the third, which I think is just kind of blasphemous. Not super big on Gronk, but I think just the offense in total. I think, with him and Arians is going to be a match made in heaven. And don't get me wrong, I love Matthew Stafford too. I think Darrell Bevel's going to just let him throw, and he's got the weapons to do it. So I'll take both, but I'll definitely take Brady over Stafford.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that tight end room. I'm very curious about. It came out earlier that Gronk might be the tight end 3 in the rotation, which makes sense because they're probably just going to use him as a red zone specialist. And so then it becomes like, what are you going to do? Cameron Brate to me looks like a mini-ish Gronk, and then you have just the giant of a man that's OJ Howard. So that just the team, it'll be interesting to see. They're definitely one of those teams that has a lot of buzz going into the season, and I'm very curious to see just how well they can perform and what Brady can do.
To me, if you're drafting Gronk, you have to get OJ Howard. Like, you just have to.
Yeah.
For me, Gronk is such a value right now, and I don't care. He's a value no matter how early he goes, because a lot of people are forgetting, and I tweeted this out last week, that Rob Gronkowski, he walked away from football to get his mind right, to be more, mentally aware and mentally healthy and physically healthy. He wasn't feeling either of those things. Now he's refreshed. He's been promoting CBD. He's feeling great. I'm a big proponent for CBD because I have a very serious back injury, and CBD has been amazing for me. So not to get preachy on the show, but I'm with Gronk, man. He's actually the reason he turned me on to CBD, and it's worked for me. So, and I'm not an athlete. I'm not an NFL athlete, but he's taken time off to get those things right. And sometimes the mental thing's more important than the physical thing. Yeah. Now he's done that. He's taken those steps. He looks amazing. And I think that we could see he's back with Tom Brady. I don't care where the location is. He's got Tom Brady thrown to him. Yeah. He's well worth the risk. But if you want to back it up, if you're super worried that Gronk isn't what Gronk used to be, then get OJ Howard at the end, because, or Cameron Brate. I mean, either one. But I think OJ
you're streaming at that point. If Gronk doesn't hit, it's fine. It's tight end. It's not a big deal. And right now,
absolutely.
The tight end 33 going off the board is a tight end I really like, and it is so far down there that no one's ever going to go, and it's Tyler Eifert. On any given week, like, you can just plug and play someone that's super deep down there. If your guy doesn't hit, like, you're good. And so, like you said, Gronk's worth it. Just see what happens.
For sure.
Hit me with that Robert Tonyan, by the way. We're going deep. We're going deeper.
Presumptive potential starter.
Why not? He's got a little bit of rapport. Why not? I'd take either him
for
or
52 touchdown.
Robert Tonyan had a 70-yard bomb, 70-yard touchdown last year.
It was nuts.
This is, by the way, this is the dangerous combination of the three of us, because we're on pace. If we cover all of these names, we're on pace for like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, we'll see. I tried to cut out some of them. I don't know if they're. Yeah, I eliminated 4 of these out of the group. So let's move on to the running backs, though. I'm going to start off this one because I'm the one that thinks this is absolutely batshit, and that's Aaron Jones coming in at RB12 with Josh Jacobs at RB13. And I just this is ridiculous. Aaron Jones is my boy. Love him to death. The entire reason I even have a podcast is pretty much because Aaron Jones won me Scott Fish, and this is just stupid. If you're taking Josh Jacobs taking Aaron Jones before Josh Jacobs, you're doing fantasy football wrong.
If you're taking Aaron Jones before Josh Jacobs,
you're doing fantasy football.
I'm so glad that you said that.
Josh Jacobs should be RB7. He should be the back of a first round. Back middle, like pretty much after Henry and Cook, go Jacobs.
Volume. And that's what it's about. All right. I mean, Josh Jacobs is going to get a ton of volume in Las Vegas, and Aaron Jones, as much as I love him, and I'm with you, Gary, I love that offense that, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. I'm on my laptop and I'm using my fancy webcam. So I'm not live streaming from my phone downstairs. So that's why there's the difference there. So anyways, but yeah, I mean, I want a piece of that Green Bay offense, but Aaron Jones going before Josh Jacobs to me is crazy, just because, we're hearing a lot about Dylan coming in and how big and ridiculous he looks. I know he's a rookie, probably won't take too much away from Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs, we know for a fact he's going to get the volume. We don't know that for a fact for Aaron Jones. I mean, they still have Williams there as well. So, there's a lot of mouths to feed. I know everyone hates that term, but it's the truth when it comes to Green Bay. And, for Josh Jacobs, he's getting the volume and he should be going, at least 3 spots ahead of Aaron Jones.
Especially if he gets those additional targets that they're talking about him getting. I mean,
right.
He's the type of guy that could finish as a top 5 running back.
Yeah, he said he wants 60 targets this year. I can see him getting 50 at least. I can.
Yeah, that could vault him certainly into that top, 6, 7, 8 discussion, certainly among running backs. I mean, I've got Jacobs over Jones too. I just think Dillon and in combination with Williams is going to shave off a little of that touchdown equity in that offense. I just don't, obviously people, the big narrative with Jones is, he's gonna regress a bit after, the season that he just had. They tend to sit Jones every 3rd series or so. He's not the most healthy of running backs. He can't be, he shouldn't be. I can't say he can't be a bell cow. He shouldn't be a true bell cow because I don't think he can hold up. But, they've got 2 certainly capable backs to be able to kind of just take a little bit off of his plate. Now, with Dillon being that physical specimen, I do think that they, at least use him in a bigger packages and take a little bit from Jones. But Jones still has that receiving upside. But I do like Jacobs, as far as volume and, the opportunity. I'm not super worried that they went out and they still have guys like Richard, if he can, and Lynn Bowden, to maybe take a little bit of his. I know he wants those targets, just not sure he's going to get 50 to 60, but, even if he gets 40 or so, I think he's still going to land in that top 12 just on volume alone.
Definitely.
So
agreed.
Yeah, let's dig into more running backs here because we've got 2 of my favorite guys here, James Conner, Chris Carson, both similarly ranked RB17, RB19. Let's start off with Nate here between these 2 running backs who are 2 of the only guys that I will draft in this range. What do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, James Conner is just completely forgotten about. We saw when he took over, he can produce on, and call me crazy, he can produce on a Le'Veon Bell level when he gets the full workload, okay? Now, Ben Roethlisberger was injured last year. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers offense as a whole has been forgotten, and you can get them all at a value, Juju included, and I know we might talk about him later, but this is why I have to go James Conner here. I love Chris Carson. I think he's a super talented guy, deserves to be a lead back. He does have fumble issues. Luckily for us, Seattle hasn't given up on him with that, but they have other running backs there where he could potentially, if he starts the season that way with fumbleitis, we could see him get benched at some point. And that's my only worry with Chris Carson. That's the only thing. Talent-wise, they're both very much on the same level for me. And this is why, again, we're talking about guys that are going within the 2 spots at the position for me. Yeah. But for me, I'm going to have to go James Conner. Volume alone. I think that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to be handed off to a bunch, especially if there is some lingering issues with Ben Roethlisberger. That only favors James Conner. So he's kind of like game script proof, because he is such a versatile weapon there. So for me, it's James Conner of the 2, but it's close. But again, that's what we're talking about here. But I'm going to go James Conner.
It's so strange hearing the specific points that you're referring to, because to me, the logic makes your points say why Carson is the better bet.
I know. I get it.
Conner doesn't have the workload because we don't they brought in Anthony McFarland. We know they like Benny Snell. Jalen Samuels is probably gone. So that's, it's probably good for everybody.
Yeah.
But how many games is he going to play? I mean, he played 10, he played 13 this year before that. And he played 14 his rookie season. I don't know if that even matters, but Chris Carson, on the other hand, yeah, he had his injury, but he's pretty much a lock for 250 touches, if not closer to 300, if they can get his targets there. they don't have competition. It's Hyde. Who cares? Like, there's DJ Dallas, and then Penny will come
Rashard
back.
Penny. We're forgetting her.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's going to be on the pup expected, so that's going to at least be 6
True.
weeks. Even if he comes back by that point, Connor is going to be injured. So if we're going to talk about upside of offenses, I want the team that I know is ground and pound and wants to do it. Like we talked about Wilson, and our hesitance for Wilson is because they run so heavily. And so I would rather go for a team that I know is going to utilize their backs more than I can't even say more. Like they're probably equal and like in all 16. If I knew both were playing all 16, yes, I want Connor. I think he's the upside play, but I think Connor is the safer play. And
but I think they're both. I think that's where it comes down to. It's just like they're both. And that's why they're going where they're going, right? And that's why they're mid RB2, because they have RB1 potential, but it's just their situation that is driving their value down, and it's appropriate. So I mean, again, we're splitting hairs here, but I mean, I agree with your points. I love Chris Carson. I'm a huge Chris Carson fan. To me, I'm gonna assume the all 16, and that's usually how I try to keep my mindset.
Of course.
I don't want to assume injury. That's just kind of ridiculous unless a player's never done it before, for over 5 years or something. Was that like James Conner? Is that what we're gonna say? But for me, I mean, I just think that even a limited capacity, I don't think I think we see a fair example of either one of them getting 12 to 14 games this year. Yeah. So if we're looking at it realistically, they could end up with the same amount of games. Of
course. My last thing I would say, just because of their upside and floor, is I want Connor as my RB2. I want Carson as my RB3. Sorry. I flipped it in my head. I want Carson as my RB2 because I feel like he is safer, but I want Connor if I can get him as my RB3 because that's a guy that can finish top 5. I think Carson finishes 5 to 15. I think Connor finishes probably top 7 or like 70. Yeah. No, there's a big variance there. And I think, to your point, from the sounds of it, you're going to own a lot of Carson and none of Connor because Connor's going ahead of Carson. So yeah, that's just not going to happen. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead. Why don't you talk a little bit?
No, I love the dulcet tones going on between you two. I could listen to that all day. But as far as Connor and Carson, I have them both back to back, and I have Connor ahead of Carson. Just Connor, we look back before he got hurt last season, he was on a 1,400 yard total yard pace, and then he got hurt, and then that's been pretty much the story with James Conner. But Mike Tomlin's come out and said he wants him as his workhorse back. It's just if Connor's body lets it happen. So, when all is going right, Connor's a top 8 back. And, if he could play a 16 game season, we'd see him at the beginning of the second round, or the middle of the second round. I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind. And then Carson is just absolutely steady. Like Nate said, the fumble issue, so there's a little bit of reservation there. I'm not super worried about any of the guys that are behind him. So I think Carson certainly has that, the touch edge over Connor, but I think Connor can certainly do more with the touches that he's given. So that's what puts Connor ahead of Carson for me, but both guys are excellent values at that ADP.
Yeah.
You sound like a politician, Kevin. They're both different, but I think they're equally great. And I think we all sound that way, actually, now that I think about it.
If I were the commissioner of the NFL, I think there would be no score. It's just, are you guys having fun? All right.
Everyone give a high five at the end of the game. Who cares what the score is?
Participation awards for everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
So funny. Let's dip into some running backs here. A couple rookies here. We've got Cam Akers and DeAndre Swift. Now, I'd say for me, this is a decision at these guys because this is right about where lately I've been starting to draft running backs. So Gary, sort out this between Akers and Swift.
Oh my gosh. I personally probably want Cam Akers. What's weird is that so I've drafted both of these guys in some leagues, like at a turn or something, and I I think I always take Swift first, but I think I've started to I'm nervous that one, Carrion's really good. He's not a bad running back. I think they brought in Swift so that they would have a 1-2 punch, and also in case of injury, Carrion hasn't been a picture of health. Swift is amazing. He's amazing out of the backfield, especially. I don't know. I just feel like his workload won't be there. I think if I had to bet money which one of them is going to be the bell cow for their team, I would bet that it's going to be Akers. And obviously Akers is potentially coming into the Gurley role. My biggest concern with the Rams is just their offensive line has obviously been so bad lately, but I think that the ceiling is probably Cam Akers has the ceiling. Swift, I want to say has the floor, but I don't know. I literally, as we're doing this, I'm talking about potentially trading Darrell Henderson. So that's the other big thing is that there is Kerryon Johnson with Swift, but then there's Henderson. They spent a 3rd-round pick on him, and he looked good when they gave him touches, but the touches were so far and few between last season. So the backfield, I mean, if you don't want something that's going to be so muddy, don't touch Akers. Go with Swift because at least at worst it's a 50-50 split. With Akers, I mean, he could be anywhere from 15% to 65% of the touches.
What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I'm not a rookie specialist, and I got the same exact question on my live stream prior to this. And for me, it's easily of these two, easily Cam Akers. Todd Gurley's gone. They need to fill that void. That's a big void to fill. And again, we're talking about rookie players here, and it's really hard to project that. But again, you're missing a ton of volume out of that backfield for the Rams. So Cam Akers to me is the guy. DeAndre Swift, everyone's so quick to just toot his horn and he's the next guy. We were just saying that about Kerryon Johnson. And he's still on the team, guys. I don't know if you know that. He's still on the team. And Gary, to go off your Darrell Henderson thing, not to knock a guy for his size or whatever. I met him in person a couple years ago. Small dude. He did not appear to be an NFL running back. And when everyone was super high on him, was it last year or whatever? I was just like, what do you guys know? It's not happening. Yeah. And, so I don't think Henderson's a huge threat to Cam Akers because Cam Akers seems to be the more, prolific back of the two. So to me, and again, we're talking about guys, RB30 and RB27. To me, Akers, because of his opportunity, especially if we're talking redraft, he's got to be the one that gets most immediate impact. And for you, DeAndre Swift, he could end up winning out. But, if we look at what Detroit has done in that backfield the last 10 years, you don't know who the back's going to be. We thought Kerryon Johnson was the answer, and he apparently he wasn't. He could still be this year, and then we're not even talking about Swift anymore. So that's why I'm fading Swift completely. I don't think I'll own him anywhere. Cam Akers, I might experiment on, but for rookie running backs, it's very rare that I'm going after people other than CEH or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at those running backs, I mean, I think certainly Cam Akers has the most advantageous position to return value commensurate of his ADP. So when you're looking at the possible splits between the running backs in LA, I think Akers has the best path to high leverage touches, those goal line touches, and early down work. So I'm going to side with that talent all day long over Swift. I think Henderson's going to have a lesser role in that offense, and I'm not super worried about Malcolm Brown in that offense. And also look at this too, when the Rams play more 12 personnel, they were playing Johnny Munt in that second tight end when Gerald Everett was out. He's by far a great run blocker. So I think they're going to continue that this year with Everett playing maybe more pass down roles. When they want to run the ball, I think Munt's going to be in there with Higbee. Obviously McVay likes to run those jets, run those rubs, the jet sweeps and everything like that. So I think that's going to benefit Cam Akers, not only the pass game, but Cam Akers. obviously the narrative, we know he likes to run behind a crappy offensive line. He did it at Florida State. I think certainly, Cam Akers, I think the talent wins out there. And that's not to bang on DeAndre Swift, because I think, just based on the class. Remember this time last year, he was pretty much a consensus 1 or 2, in circles with Taylor and Etienne. But, how the mighty have fallen and where that landing spot, really dictates how you think about a player going to Detroit, which has been pretty much a wasteland for running backs since Barry Sanders retired. It's really tough when you see a talent like that just kind of, he hasn't played it down yet, and we're already just so down on DeAndre Swift just because of everything that happened. And it's tough. I think he gets some receiving work, and we'll see if Kerryon Johnson can stay on the field, but I'll take the upside Akers over Swift.
Yeah. It makes sense. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think this is redraft. If we were talking dynasty, then I would still go Swift over Akers.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you have to preface your arguments, because if you don't, people just harp all over you. And I've been known. I say, hey, I'm a redraft specialist. I'm always talking redraft. Unless I specify dynasty, I'm talking redraft. So, that you got to be clear about that, because it does change the conversation. That's for sure.
Of course, definitely.
Yep, for sure. So we're gonna go away from running backs to wide receivers, and a couple of my favorites here, Allen Robinson and Juju Smith-Schuster, both going in similar spots here. Wide receiver 7, wide receiver 10. So Nate, help separate this out between Robinson and Juju.
Man, I mean, talent-wise and opportunity-wise, from me, I'm sorry, it's Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, the volume in that offense, if Ben Roethlisberger is healthy, he's going to target Juju a ton. There's a reason Antonio Brown started getting disgruntled in Pittsburgh. It's because, hey, who's this new shiny toy that's getting the targets over me, and I'm not getting it, all my balls. It was because of Juju Smith-Schuster and his talent. Allen Robinson, super talented. Not going to even debate that. His situation in Chicago at the quarterback position is super unhealthy. It's just, is he going to have Nick Foles? Is he going to have Mitch Trubisky? Is he going to have a combination of the two? How awesome is that? Like, if you combine the best attributes of Trubisky and Nick, are we equaling Ben Roethlisberger? I don't think so. So to me, that's the tiebreaker. Juju Smith-Schuster has Ben Roethlisberger thrown to him in an offense I think is going to score a lot more than Chicago Bears. And again, scoring at the end of the day when it comes to fantasy football is what matters. And I think Juju's going to get a whole ton of opportunity over Allen Robinson, even though I do believe Allen Robinson, if he were on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I might be leaning Allen Robinson here. But it's the situation. They're both super talented, but it's the situation for me, and it's Juju.
Kevin, I'm going to let you go here.
Gary's he's gearing up to just fight back on that one.
I love both guys. Don't get me wrong. End of the day, I've got Allen Robinson as my wide receiver 7. I just think he's basically quarterback proof with his skill set. I mean, with Trubisky, in there, look at a 27% target share, 39% air yard share. He had the 3rd highest contested targets with over almost 60% contested catch rate. So even if he's got a not so accurate quarterback, he's the one pulling everything down. We're starting to see that maybe 2015 when he was in Jacksonville wasn't the outlier. He's been playing with terrible quarterbacks his entire career. And now he might have the best quarterback, and it's Nick friggin' Foles. So, and even if it is Trubisky who comes out week 1, we know he's a one read guy, and he's going to look to Allen Robinson. So that's why I have Allen Robinson, and I have no problems taking him in the 3rd every time. And that don't get me wrong, I love Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he's, a fantastic receiver. And if Ben Roethlisberger can be Ben Roethlisberger, it's going to be, it's going to be on the legs of Juju, and hopefully he plays certainly more in the slot. getting him back to what he knows and getting Deontay on the outside and, whoever else they put on the outside, whether it's Washington or Claypool or, whatever the case may be, because I've got him at wide receiver 10. But for my money, I'm banking on Allen Robinson, wide receiver 7 for me. I think he's just quarterback proof, even with the terrible passing game situation. It can't get worse in that offense as far as from an efficiency standpoint than it was last year. So he produced even despite that. If they just get a little bit more out of their run game, I think it's only going to help the passing game there. So give me Robinson.
Yeah, I have Robinson ahead. I hate that I always couch these things in like floors and upsides, but I don't. Juju has so much competition for targets. Chase Claypool, fine, he's a rookie. Eric Ebron's coming in. Vance McDonald's still there. Most importantly, though, you have Deontay and you have James Washington. I think that Juju, as long as they can put him in the slot, is going to have a very nice target floor. I think he's going to do really well. I think Juju's upside is far, far higher than Allen Robinson's. I think Juju's upside is probably wide receiver 1. I don't think Allen Robinson comes close to that. So it just comes down to, I look at these two as the range they're going is probably going to be my wide receiver 1. He's never going to be my wide receiver 2. And I'm usually going to lean on Allen Robinson as my wide receiver 1. There are wide receivers in between them and even afterwards that I actually prefer to them. And I'm just going to say Adam Thielen is somebody that I actually like more than both of these guys. As a wide receiver 1. It's all contextual to the draft, but Allen Robinson has had terrible quarterback play. That's fine. I think that bringing in Foles is either going to make Trubisky better or Foles is just better. So no matter what, there is no staying at the same. It will only get better. And I think that team as a whole will get better. And I think that their defense isn't going to get back to what it was in 2018 when they were just absolutely lights out elite. I think that we're going to still be in this world where they need to start passing some more. I read the craziest stat on Reddit that Trubisky is already in 3,000 yards. He'll be the highest passing quarterback the Bears have ever had. That has no bearing on any of this. I just have to say it out loud because that's absolutely insane. Because we all think he's absolute garbage. We don't think of him as a great quarterback, but when he hits, he hits. So all that to be said, I'm going to go Robinson here, but I do think that Juju is going to have a really good season. And again, going back to keepers or dynasty, Juju is the type of guy everybody needs to be going out and buying in any sort of league where they're going to have him beyond this year, because the dip from last year's, it was criminal.
Right.
How long has it taken for him to even get back to wide receiver 10? He was going around wide receiver 17 in the offseason. You're just what are you doing here? This makes absolutely zero sense. So
again, going back to what I said earlier, the Pittsburgh offense as a whole has been forgotten because Ben Roethlisberger had an injury. His arm looks fantastic now. The reports are saying, obviously it's preseason. There's a bunch of coach speak and all that good stuff. But one thing that worries me about Allen Robinson when we talk about QB proof, there's only one other running back or wide receiver, in recent memory that is QB proof, and that is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
And he is not DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry. I love Allen Robinson, but there's next to nobody I can compare to DeAndre Hopkins and the type of receiver that he is. So that's why, for me, if we're playing off a full 16 healthy, we're talking about his quarterback is healthy for a full 16. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about who his quarterback is going to be. That's the difference maker for me with Juju, and he's the clear guy there. And what if Trubisky starts the season and he's not good 4 weeks in, and we're talking about Nick Foles taking over, and they do the whole bouncing back and forth? There's a lot you need to adjust and have time with a specific quarterback for most cases, unless you're DeAndre Hopkins, where you can consistently produce at a high elite level. And that is my biggest concern with Allen Robinson, not his talent. It's what or who he'll have throwing to him at what given point.
Man, you got to be thinking they're going to play all 16 though, right?
But they brought in Nick Foles and he's getting a ton of hype, and it's that throws a wrinkle in. There's no wrinkle. I don't believe that's
Nick
going to
Foles
take
is
over
better.
for Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. You know,
I think Foles should have 100% been the starter. If it wasn't for COVID, he would be entrenched as a starter. DeAndre Hopkins has never torn an ACL. I just want to have to throw that out there. That did make a little bit of a difference. So
because he's that good.
Yeah, he blocked me on Twitter. Actually, he does not want to hear my. I have no slander for him.
Okay.
I think it's great. I don't even know what happened, honestly. But it's funny because everybody wants to talk about Ben Roethlisberger, that account blocking everybody. I'm not blocked by him. Everybody
Me
else.
either. I was for a while, but I don't know. I just checked the other day. I'm not.
It's absolutely, it's weird, but I'm blocked by Hopkins for some reason, and I don't know why. But
I think what it is with players is whenever they're mentioned, and if God forbid it gets over 100 comments or something, they're like, I can't be dealing with this, and they just, whether it's good or bad, they'll just block it because they don't want to get their notifications hit up that much. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. But let's go down a little bit to the next tier of receivers, and I think something happened with my video here, so we'll fix that here.
We can still hear you, so that's good.
Yes, we can hear me. So let's go to DJ Chark or Cortland Sutton here. So we'll start with Gary here because I know you wanted to defer before. So Chark and Sutton, where are you at?
Man, these are I just find these to be extremely tough. I'm gonna default to Chark because he doesn't have Jerry Jeudy. That's going to be taking away targets. I think that Chark should be. I mean, if we talk about bell cow running backs, isn't DJ Chark one of the most secure in his targets behind like an Adams type person? Mm-hmm. There's just nothing there. There's Chenault, and then there's Dede and some other folks, but like they're not much. And I don't really care too much for Chenault as of right now. But I also don't know rookies quite as well as others. So in terms of quarterback, I've seen it from Gardner. I haven't seen anything from Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a hope and a prayer that he's going to be able to get to where John Elway and that whole staff wants him to get to. So I'm going to lean DJ Chark, but Cortland Sutton, I was just one of my buddies, he might even still be watching. He and I were just talking about how Cortland Sutton just passes the eye test. You watch him play and you're just like, that dude knows how to ball. He's so damn good. But he's just going to be limited. He not only do you have Drew Lock, you now have Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. You have Melvin Gordon, who's going to take work out of the backfield. I mean, I don't really know what to expect that offense other than they want to be a high-powered offense. I just don't know if they're ever going to get there. But I think that probably you're going to feel better, like snugly having Cortland Sutton on your roster compared to DJ Chark, because DJ Chark is just so much more of an unknown. I don't know if that's right to say or not, but in my head, DJ Chark seems like he was in the league for a couple of years and didn't do much, and then all of a sudden, or in the league for 1 year, and then I don't know. Yeah.
So funny story for me for Cortland Sutton is I met him and I took a picture with him, and he was taller than me, of course. But he was sitting and I was standing and he was still taller than me. So I'm 5'9", 5'10", roughly. So I'm not like a super short dude, but he's sitting in a chair and he's still taller than me. So ton of respect for the dude. He's super talented. I've watched him closely. And it's funny though. I got this question on my live stream. Are you worried about Cortland Sutton with all the new guys, the younger guys coming in? And it kind of made me chuckle a little bit because I'm like, Cortland Sutton is still a young guy. I mean, he was just drafted, So for me, it's so funny that I started the conversation that way because it sounds like I'm leaning Sutton. But for me, I'm going to go Chuck because in Denver, it's the most, like if we talk about running back situations to stay away from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about wide receiver situations to stay away from. For me, it's Denver. They've drafted every talented wide receiver you could possibly draft in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And we don't know what levels everybody's at right now. They still have Hamilton. They still have Sutton. They have Jeudy. They have everybody in the world at the wide receiver position. And they're still figuring out who they are as an offense. So they might lean on the run a ton, which is going to help Melvin Gordon, obviously, and Phillip Lindsay. But I think there's just too much going on at the wide receiver position to know who's the clear, target there for Chark and his purposes. Jaguars per usual, is going to be probably throwing the ball a ton and handing it off to Leonard Fournette. But outside of Chark, there's really not much threat. They haven't drafted as well as the Denver Broncos have in recent memory for the wide receiver position. So for me, it's Chark, and it's not even close. I'm fading all of the Denver wide receivers for that reason, just because they have an unlimited amount of wide receivers, it appears, and I just can't. It's a lottery pick at this point. Who's going to be the one to, if there is going to be a one, but who's going to be the one to strive away from the rest of the pack?
Yep, I agree. I've got Chark over Sutton, and yeah, to your point, obviously Sutton's there's a lot of mouths to feed in that Denver offense. So, and then a given week, it could be maybe Judy with a big game. It could be Sutton, could be Noah Fant, could be, maybe Philip Lindsay on, gets a couple of receiving touchdowns. We don't know. Right. So that's the thing, with so many mouths to feed in that offense. But also, I think that Denver offense is going to be a lot more run oriented than people realize. I don't think, they're going to let Drew Lock throw even 500 times out of the gate. I think he's going to be Mr. Limited a little bit with throwing the ball. I wanted to throw that out there a couple times because you both
nice. I love it.
But no, and this is somebody who I love, Drew Lock, and I think that he's got a big future in the league. I just don't know if it's going to be in 2020, and I think that's going to affect Sutton a little bit. Though I do think he's going to be straddling that wide receiver 3. That kind of benchmark there, but give me DJ Chark, and I'm just going to go through the first 6 games that he has. Tell me if any team really scares you. Indy, at Tennessee, that might be the toughest one. Miami, at Cincy, at Houston, Detroit, and then a bye. So tell me who scares you. Tell me. I
mean, it's the Titans. You said it. I mean, that's the only one. They were very capable last year of stopping the top guy, and if Chark is the top guy there, then he might have a rough week, but that's one rough week out of the first. How many games? 6, you said?
Yeah.
So
the first 6. That's a guy who you're going to dangle out there, on that, that bye week. Maybe you can get something nice for him. But, I still like Chark. I think he's going to be, he showed alpha tendencies last season. I think he can be that because it's a pretty narrow target distribution there because it's Chark and then who else? Yeah, you've got Dede Westbrook kind of hanging out. You've got Chris Conley. You've got Laviska Shenault there. We don't know exactly what his role is going to be because I think he's going to be more of a change of pace, gadgety type player, at least at the outset. But I do think, with that schedule, with Minshew, who I think is a lot better than people give credit for, as a fantasy quarterback, and that's a discussion for another show, certainly. But yeah, I think DJ Chark is, on another tier ahead of Sutton.
I have a trade alert going back to this rookie draft I'm doing.
Here we go. Let's hear it.
So I just traded Darrell Henderson in the 11 for pretty much Jalen Reagor and Duke Johnson.
No way.
I don't hate that.
You stole that. You stole that. That is just ridiculous.
So
good for you.
I officially moved from the 101 after the season ended. I moved from the 101, and I've over several trades. I moved 101 and Brandon Cooks, and now Darrell Henderson to get Austin Eckler, Amari Cooper, J.K. Dobbins, and Jalen Reagor.
Okay, that's how you do fantasy football, people. I mean, that's amazing. Congratulations. I'm super jealous. Good for you.
Draft day Gary Hatto over here.
I'm usually the guy that trades away all my picks. It just happened to work out on this one, so I'm pumped.
Nice. Yep. Good job, man. That's fantastic.
I just wanted to bookend the Denver conversation. If you're in a draft, man, if it's in a deep draft, especially if it's a super flex, I think that Jeff Driscoll should be one of the last picks of last round picks. Don't know what Drew Lock is. We saw one game where he played well. The rest of the games, he was something. Especially, again, you might not be keeping him on your roster if you're anything close that remotely resembles a shallow roster. But come week 8, come week 10, or even sooner, if Drew Lock tanks, we've seen Jeff Driscoll succeed in multiple places. He's never blown it out of the water, but he is actually put up for fantasy because he uses his legs. So just something to think about.
Deep cut there from Gary Hatto.
Not a bad call.
Don't mind it. But let's go with a couple deep threats here, kind of staying in the same realm here. Will Fuller, Marquise Brown, couple polarizing guys here, and I'll go to Nate with this one. So you got Will Fuller, who can't stay healthy, Marquise Brown, who had injury issues last season. Sorted out. What do you think?
Well, Marquise Brown is apparently he's gained like 176 pounds in pure muscle. No,
So he's 177 pounds now.
Yeah, it was 177. Yeah, I didn't know the exact number. I think it was like 27 pounds he's gained. They didn't clarify whether it was muscle or not, but he does look like he's muscular. So I'm going to go Marquise Brown here just because to me, he's the top target in Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson has proven that he isn't just a runner. He can actually win games through the air. And so, to me, Lamar Jackson is the best current quarterback in the league. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. I was harping on the fact that he just runs and that's all he does. But I mean, he does that. He prefers to do that than throw it away, which most quarterbacks will end up doing. If they don't see, if somebody doesn't run the route the right way or whatever, and there's no opening, they'll just throw it away. He'll run and pick up fantasy points for you. And that's what we're talking about, fantasy football. But Marquise Brown, simply because I love Will Fuller and I like that, there's been discussions like, when's the touchdown regression coming? Oh, I'll tell you when he gets hurt, because that's what happens with Will Fuller. He just gets hurt. And it's unfortunate. And as much as I love Will Fuller, I can't trust his stability of staying on the field. And that's really, and who's to know, like this offense without, DeAndre Hopkins is what that's going to look like. But Brandon Cooks, he's a legitimate wide receiver. He's probably still going to be the wide receiver one there, guys, just so you know, not Will Fuller. It'll be Brandon Cooks, and Marquise Brown is supposed to be the wide receiver one in Baltimore. So I'm going to go with Brown on this one.
Man, I love both of these. I want both of them on every roster I can. I get frustrated if one goes, the next person, the player I look for is the other, regardless of who it is. I think, again, if we're going 16, I think Fuller has more points. I think that he will have the better season. I trust his connection with Deshaun because we've seen it. We've only seen 4 or 5 games with Lamar and Hollywood. He's the wide receiver one, but is he the first read? I think Mark Andrews is.
Fair.
Brandon Cooks will probably be the second read. If Fuller's on the field, I think he's the read, just because of the connection that they've had. And I mean, it's Will Fuller has to lead the NFL in historically in fantasy points per game played after, as long as you play a certain amount, right? It's insane. So I don't know. I want to see it put together. I will always say that I'm injury agnostic. I'm more than happy to buy injury dips. And I think both of these guys, the injury dips, nuts. But come next year, I think that Marquise Brown will be a top 15 wide receiver going into drafts. Ooh. I think he's going to be just crushing it because he's just going to be, he's Tyreek light right now. I mean, you have both of them going. I'm still blown away that you said Lamar's the best quarterback in the league over Mahomes, because I think Mahomes is better, but that's a separate thing. So, Kevin, where are you at?
Just to piggyback on what you said, Gary, if Will Fuller plays 16 games, dude, you could give that guy 5 seasons. He might not hit 16 games. He is paper mache if on the field. I don't trust Will Fuller's health. I'm not going to draft him in the 6th or 7th round. I would much rather have Marquise Brown. Give me his narrow target distribution. We talked about it last week with Samantha Praviti about the Ravens and how somebody has to be the volume producer. And while I do think that is going to be Mark Andrews, I could see Marquise Brown totally get up to about 85, 95, maybe even 100 targets. And I just think, with his skill set, I mean, we saw him ball out the first 2 weeks of the season, and then I think it was his foot. He had a foot injury. that was kind of lingering before the season. So, I think the sky is the limit for Marquise Brown. I've got him in just countless amounts of stacks in best ball with Andrews and Lamar Jackson. So give me Marquise Brown. I think, if Baltimore needs a second receiver next to Mark Andrews, I don't think there's a realistic candidate there. Maybe in the slot if you believe in Devin Duvernay, maybe as a big time value. But yeah, Marquise Brown has to be that second guy.
I want to do a bet right now.
Oh boy.
We have these $5 bets. I want you to set an over-under line for Will Fuller.
Games?
Total games played this season. Yeah, I should have finished that sentence.
I figured it was going to be games.
I give him 12. Let's make it. All right, let's make it 11.5.
That's
Under.
I was hoping.
Hard under.
All right, I'll take the over, $5. So Kevin and I we randomly do these bets, and it's like $5 to whatever
Okay.
charity.
All right.
So I have a list.
I'm gonna
need
go under for the 11.5.
You want in on this bet?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
$5 to the charity of whoever wins.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool.
Okay.
So it's $10 now. $10 to the charity
Boom.
because two of us are going to be wrong.
Yeah,
Oh wait, no, two of us could be right.
I'll
So
do
you might-
$10, and you guys.
All right, okay,
do
cool.
$5 each.
All right. Sounds good.
So, sorry, I'm doing $5 for each of you, and you guys are doing $5 each. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
FCL bets. All right, cool. Do you want to hear the other ones just real quick? Over under Zeke, 1,275.5 rushing yards. Kevin took the under for some weird reason. And then over under Herbert starts 5.5 games. Kevin takes the over. I take the under.
Herbert start
Yeah,
5.5. I'm going over on that one. I do
Yeah.
not like Tyrod Taylor.
I do.
No
do in the
way. No way Tyrod Taylor is playing the majority of the season. I'm sorry.
I just think with that Chargers defense, I think they're going to plateau at some point with their offense. They're going to want to see what they have in Herbert.
We'll see.
I mean, he couldn't. I mean,
We
Tyrod
should
Taylor.
all
I'm
go
sorry.
for
He's a
that.
fantasy football quarterback, not a real NFL quarterback, and I think they know that. That's why he couldn't last in Buffalo. So,
He knows the system. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So let's get to some tight ends here. We'll round out the festivities here. So Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee. I'm going to start this one off here because I do like my tight ends. Now, both are really at a range that I'm either going to take an early tight end or I'm just going to wait for the value later. So
they're the mid tier right now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the mid tier because for my personal range, it cuts off at Evan Ingram at tight end 6.
Yep.
And then you get into Higbee 7, Henry 8, and that's how I've got them. So I will take Higbee over Henry just because, I don't think the last 4 games of Higbee in 2019, I don't think that's something you can obviously bet on, but I think he's still going to be a viable option. I don't think Gerald Everett is going to be as much of a thing as people want to try to make it out to be, because there's a reason why when he became healthy, he was playing special teams and not, out there in 2 tight end sets. That was Johnny Munt for the run blocking. So I think Higbee's got that job on lockdown. I think Gerald Everett, his contract is up at the end of the year. So I think they're just going to say, hey, goodbye. They've got Bryson Hopkins, who they just drafted, I believe, in the 4th round as a guy that they want to get into those 2 tight end sets. So I think just Gerald Everett's the odd man out. And I think Tyler Higbee is going to be, I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but I think he's going to be solid enough, to be a top 8, 9, 10 wide receiver or tight end. I mean, and that's not to say I don't like Hunter Henry. I just worry about the volume, in that Chargers passing game when they've got Keenan Allen who commands targets, when they've got Mike Williams for deep shots, when they've got Austin Eckler. Someone's going to be the odd man out, and it certainly could be Hunter Henry, and I'm not going to pay the price in the 8th, 9th round to find out.
And he doesn't have Phillip Rivers throwing to him anymore. He's got Tyrod Taylor and possibly the rookie coming in. So as we just discussed. So for me, that's the only reason I'm fading Hunter Henry. I love his talent. I think he's a great red zone threat. But for me, it's Tyler Higbee just because there are 2 key pieces missing in that offense, and Brandon Cook and Todd Gurley. Tyler Higbee is a beneficiary of that. He becomes probably the 3rd target in the offense behind Woods and Kupp. So for me, it's easily Higbee between the 2. I'm probably not going to own Hunter Henry anywhere just because of his current situation.
Fully agree. I don't even have anything to add. Hunter Henry is just the
Nailed it.
who you not drafting. I will not own a single Hunter Henry. I have him in one FC eliminator because it's like major tight end, bonus, and I wanted to do one where I took like 9 tight ends.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can't even think of a league where I have Hunter Henry, and I don't think I have any shares of Hunter Henry across. God, we're talking about dozens and dozens of teams, mostly best ball ones. I don't think I have any shares. Just it's not appealing in any way for me.
Yeah.
So let's get into. We'll round it out with a couple deep tight ends here. Jonnu Smith and Blake Jarwin. Gary, since you had nothing for Higbee and Henry, let's let you start it off.
And I appreciate it because I was going to interject with a question. Blake Jarwin and Jonnu Smith do not feel like late tight ends. When it said tight end 17 and 19, I am on the Fantasy Pros right now because I did not believe it. Like, these guys are people are talking about, like, oh, I'm just going to wait. Like, I've taken Blake Jarwin as my tight end 1 in many leagues because I, as everyone knows, I punt on tight end. I'm always happy to do it. I think that Jarwin, I like for his weekly floor. I like Jonnu if I need to spice up my roster. If I'm going up again, I'm like the 8, team 8 to 12, and I'm going up against like the 1 to 2 or 3, and I'm trying to stream right now. I'm going to throw Jonnu in because he could. I mean, at some point we're going to see 150 and 2 from him, and one of them will be like a 70-yard touchdown. Whereas Blake Jarwin, we're going to see like 40 and 3.
Yeah.
Like 40 yards, 3 touchdowns, to be clear.
Yeah. Right.
I think that Dak, no matter what, like we've talked before, I think when Chase Vernon was on here, just about how difficult the cornerback matchups are going to be for we're almost done. Okay, I'm talking. The cornerback matchups and how difficult they are for, whoever's going to be their wide receiver 1. And, maybe that's going to throw him off. And all of a sudden you're going to have Blake Jarwin. He's going to be potentially the 5th read. But if he develops a rapport, like he could have that red zone connection and just be the dump off outlet. We've seen Cole Beasley. We've seen Jason Witten. Jason Witten was still like tight end 12, 14, even like after he came back from retirement. So there's a lot of room there. So I'll take Jarwin in anything PPR related, and I'll take Jonnu when I need a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Jarwin. I love Jonnu Smith. First of all, I just want to say his talent's amazing. And I'm, again, sounding like a politician here, playing both sides. But, Jonnu Smith, unbelievable talent. Probably less to compete with in that offense as far as receptions goes. But Blake Jarwin, I know he's got, Amari Cooper, Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, even Zeke Elliott to take targets away from him. However, Randall Cobb and Jason Witten each had 83 targets last year. Okay. Replace those two guys with CeeDee Lamb and Blake Jarwin, who Blake Jarwin already had 41 targets. Now you take 83 targets from and I know this is not how math works, but you take 83 targets from Jason Witten. And you add those together, it's like 124 targets. That's not going to happen. No, but he could come close to 100. He still has room in that offense where CeeDee Lamb comes close to 100, Blake Jarwin comes close to 100, and both Gallup and Amari Cooper go over 100. They throw the ball a ton. Dak Prescott is very accurate quarterback, and there's a reason he's like a top 10 quarterback every year he's been in the NFL. And for me, Blake Jarwin, people probably fading him because of how much is going on in that offense, but the reason is, he's going to benefit from that with defenses lining up and taking care of those wide receivers. Blake Jarwin's going to be open, man, and he's a big dude. So for me, he's probably I'm going to project him around 90 targets this year. That's 49 more targets than he had last year. And that's without Jason Witten in the picture. So he's now the guy. And so for me, it's Blake Jarwin.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm in on Jarwin. over Jonnu Smith, and it's I really like Jonnu Smith, and I think he's got a pretty nice avenue toward being the second pass receiver in that Tennessee offense, even though it is pretty low volume. But I think just the quality of target that he's going to get, that Jarwin is going to get from Dak Prescott, for all the reasons you mentioned. That's why I will take him over Jonnu. I wish I could find the stat because I just saw it today in one of my the group chats I'm in with the 102s and Scott Fishbowl. That's still going, and we talk every day about Jonnu Smith and Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm. We were talking about Jonnu Smith and just how they love to just keep him in the block, which really is going to limit his routes run in that offense. So they clearly like him and keeping him on the line and keeping him into block. So I just don't know if he can realize that target share that we think he's going to have outside of AJ Brown. Somebody's got to be the number 2 guy, and as gross as it probably is, it's probably still Corey Davis. But Jonnu Smith still has that avenue toward it. I'm just going to go with the quality of target. I'm going to go with, after you talk about Lamb, you talk about Gallup, you talk about Cooper, and then you throw in Jarwin, who you can't cover everybody. Jarwin might be the forgotten guy with defenses. They have to account for so many guys, and Jarwin is probably just going to be standing there going, hey, like, I'm right here. Like, nobody is around me. Throw me the fucking ball.
Right. Exactly. Agreed.
Yep.
You just end on that. Throw me the fucking ball.
Just throw me the fucking ball.
Drop
That's the
the F-bomb an hour and 15 in. Let's do it.
It's right. I don't have a counter, but maybe we should, because we'll end it there at 1. So a nice,
cool,
healthy F-bomb placement. So Nate, really appreciate you having you on, man. It's been a pleasure. Again, let everybody know where we can find you here.
Sure. I mean, the Fantasy Football Black Book, order that on Amazon. DM me on Twitter at DominateFF if you want my Dominate rankings, custom tiered rankings based on your league scoring. You can catch me every Wednesday live on Periscope and Twitter, 8 p.m. Eastern for Dominate at 8. And follow me on Twitter, man. That's where I'm at. That's where you can find me.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Definitely follow Nate. He's a fantastic follow on Twitter.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, 100%. So, and get Nate Hamilton a full-time job, by the way.
Thank you.
Fantasy.
Thank you. Yes, hopefully that happens this year. We'll see.
We got to make it happen by hook or crook. We'll get the word out. We got to get you a job, man. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, 100%. So, thank you everybody for sticking with us here, Fighting Chance Live. We will be back. Who knows? Maybe this weekend, me and Gary will hit up some more best balls. Little underdog fantasy best ball mania. We'll see. But for Gary Hadow, for Nate Hamilton, I'm Kevin Tompkins. This has been Fighting Chance Live, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.